Yeah.
have at the very least the top 8 secured, and hopefully I mean, tomorrow I'm probably just gonna try and play for the world slot, like, why not, and just go for broke, but, to at least have, yeah, the good placement for the tournament locked in, feels good for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was actually gonna be my first question. I remember just missed on after day 1, after the last TPC. I was curious how that shaped kind of your thoughts and your preparation around this tournament. I feel like this is like a new format,
Mhm.
having kind of the most top and elite players, like so, yeah. How did the first cup kind of shape your preparation?
It actually did affect my prep for this tournament a lot. Not necessarily because of, like, the level of play. I do think, these cups bring all the best players in a way that's different from the previous tournaments, and
Yeah.
previous sets. But I think what was, the bane of my performance in the first cup was it was on a 2-day patch, and I missed even though I felt like I had put in a good amount of time into my prep, I missed looking up a few things. I missed specifically, I missed looking up hero augments. I wasn't prepared on hero augments because it was just 2 days with stats. We didn't have any stats for any of the hero augments, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that they were playable, and I took a spot. I clicked protagonist from a spot where the items looked good to me, and
Mhm.
the board looked good to me. I just went straight 8th from, like, a board that was, like, it was a Garen 3 protagonist, Yumi 2, Leona 2, and, like, 4-1, and I just lost
Yeah.
every fight, and it turns out afterwards, I looked at the stats that the line was completely unplayable. So was Malphite, so was, like, basically every hero augment was unclickable.
Yeah.
And, and I took an 8th in that game, and I ended up missing by, like, a tiebreaker. So if I just don't take 8th there, that could potentially turn into a real tournament. But,
Yeah.
and so coming into this tournament now, this was also a short patch, by the way. We
Yeah.
had,
No,
our free patch,
100%.
like, 4 days ago, but I made sure I did part of it on stream. My prep included a lot of, like, niche, lines. So if you consider hero augments as a niche, because you only get to play them once every, like, what, 20 games or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
I feel like
So
I
I
saw a
prepped
lot
on
this tournament, but yeah, no, they definitely are usually more rare.
yeah, I think you see a lot of this tournament because they're all so good this patch that people are just clicking it from every
That's fair.
spot, which you should in this patch. That's what I did. I my last 2 games are both, Shen hero augments, so I'm
Mm,
glad my prep, helped in that sense.
yeah, no, 100%. I feel that I play in the boys this like for right now, and
Mhm.
yeah, they I think didn't play any games on the last patch, and I haven't been playing enough TFT in general. It's like I don't even know what to do now. So I can
Yeah, that's
imagine
like
if you have
the
like a few
difficult
days,
thing
like
with
it's really
TFT.
hard.
It's part of the beauty of the game for sure. I think
Yeah.
it's a little stressful when you're competing, but when you're playing, like, just, like, ranked games on, like, fresh
Mhm.
content, fresh games all the time, fresh patches, it does make it a lot more exciting as opposed to, like, I don't know, just a stale meta that lasts for, like, months and months
Yeah,
with other
no,
games.
100%. Also, we had the Americas versus EMEA this weekend, so
Mhm.
I'm curious to like hear your thoughts about that. And normally, past we've really had kind of that different players around the world until actually like spatula.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how did you feel about that competing against like an region? And did that change anything as well? I know that there's sometimes some regional different preferences and
Yeah, I think it's actually affected maybe, like, in-game a little bit in
mhm,
terms of I typically have some level of expectation with the players I'm familiar with. So when I'm in a
mhm,
lobby with a player like Setsuko or Dish Soap
yeah,
or Wei Jun, like, I have some level of expectation in terms of positioning, in terms of contesting, in terms of contesting, I think I would also assume similar levels with, any of
mhm,
these top TPC players, I guess, but, like, I think with because I'm not as familiar with a lot of the EMEA players, it just it makes me not have as much of a read, I guess, as to what to do in games
mhm,
versus, like, yeah, I just don't know how they're gonna play their game, how they like, for example, with Setsuko, I usually assume that he like, looking at his board tape, this guy's playing for a super high cap board, and so it would affect my decision making in terms of, am I trying to play a high cap board myself or take a placement? And
mhm,
if my spot doesn't look like it can cap very high, I'm just gonna assume that he's gonna outcap me because that's just how he likes to play. Whereas I don't know playstyles of, for example, really good players. I just don't know their playstyles. Go Booster, Double,
mhm,
Coco, I know is in the other tournament, but I think really highly of that guy as well. But like,
yeah.
yeah, it's just hard to know what to expect, I guess, when you don't play against them as often.
Yeah. Do you think that that, like, benefits, like, how you play TFT? Or do you think it makes it, like, harder for you compared to, like, your, fellow America's competitors? Or
I will say, I think what benefited me this cup was that I think majority of the strong NA players. I don't think anyone would disagree in that the stronger NA players are on are in the other are in the other cup. So I'm glad I got that benefit. I think on the EMEA side there are good players on both. I think,
yeah,
but on the NA side, like, you have the players I just mentioned are all there. It's
yeah,
Setsuko, it's Dish Soap, it's Wagner who are like the big three, and they're all in the other one. So I mean, whoever set the seating, like, thank you. sure. We take those.
That's fair. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch yesterday today, and yeah, there's some big powerhouses over there. And I think we saw it in the overall standings too. Some of the
Mhm,
big America's names being EMEA, I think, came up stronger in this kind of second half. So,
mhm.
yeah, is that something that you enjoyed? Do you see like cross region sort of stuff ahead of Worlds, or
Yeah, I
yeah,
like the cross region stuff. I think so. I will say that there's a caveat that I think the EMEA players aren't happy in some aspects regarding like the ping disadvantage that they have, which I think is fair. I think there
yeah,
had to be some compromise because there were LATAM players that could like it would be really, really, really difficult for them to play on EMEA ping,
yeah,
like EMEA servers. But I think with that caveat aside, I think it's a really cool format. I think it's really fun to get to play with these players not just at like at, I haven't even been to Worlds, right? But not just at the
hmm
opens and at Worlds, which is basically the only times you get to play against non NA America players as a competitive American player. I got to meet a lot of these guys at EWC
yep,
just about a month ago, and so to get to compete against them now is super fun. I prep with some of the some of the guys in my study group are also from EMEA.
yeah,
Coined also made top four. We were both studying and VOD reviewing together. Last night actually. So it's fun to both be in the top four and secure a spot for tomorrow. So I would like more tournaments like this. With hopefully they're able to appease everyone with the ping issue. But
yeah,
if that is the case, yeah, I'd love for more.
yeah. That's got to be like a weird issue in TFT, especially when you start going to Worlds, anyways. Um, so I don't envy you all that.
Yeah,
Also,
I don't know what the solution is, but you just gotta acknowledge it. It exists
yeah,
for sure. You can't. Yeah.
yeah. EWC was super fun. I really watched like um super cool. I feel like I learned everybody over. So
Same. I
yeah.
watched a lot as well because I was a coach at EWC. So I was originally on the
Mm,
roster for
yeah,
Citadel, but then I couldn't make the qualifier dates because
yeah,
they announced it with like 7 days before the the tournament, and I already had a whole trip planned around that weekend, and so Solus took my spot, so I was coaching, and I went to Riyadh as the coach as well, and,
fair.
yeah, 4v4 is a really hard format, but it was
Yeah,
really fun both to learn about the format and coach these guys and get better at that, but also just to soak up as much knowledge as I could from my teammates, from Robin,
yeah,
from Tank, from Kai Wang, from Solus, and so, yeah, I'm still representing Citadel now in TPC, and so hopefully, yeah, I'll have a good tournament myself this time after spending the last month just watching and coaching on the sidelines.
yeah. No, 100%. I'm also just curious if you can talk about like bounce back moments. I noticed that you had started with an eighth yesterday. Again today. I feel like I've watched because I co-streamed set, I think 12 and 13 as well, and then took 14
Uh-huh.
off. But I feel
Uh-huh.
like I've seen players that are incredibly good that almost like gets to their mind, right? And then internalize that and it affects how they play the games. And then there's other players. I feel like Wei such a good example of just seeing back. And I'm just curious if you
Mhm.
can kind of speak to how you kind of recover from those moments, really utilize that to just carry positive moment.
Yeah. My, after, I was celebrating just making it through from after game, what is it, 4 today,
Yeah.
I was chatting with my wife trying to celebrate. She was like, "You need to figure out what's wrong with your warm-up, routine. Why are
Mhm.
you starting why am I starting with 8th in every game?"
Yeah.
But I agree that the bounce back side of it is a nice positive spin on it.
Yeah.
I've always been mostly because 'cause I've competed at many other, I competed at golf growing up, competitively played in college. I competed at Clash Royale. I feel like I am usually pretty good on the like mentally in terms of not letting like the results affect me mid tournament too much.
Yeah.
Mostly just from competing at many things.
Mhm.
And just having like sort of go to like approaches or just having things already feel natural in terms of not letting earlier results get to you. And so that's why I definitely will admit I was feeling down after
Yeah.
it was a combination of like not having a good first tournament coming in, and then I think the first game of the tournament was an artifact portal, which
Yeah. I
many
think I
competitive
watched that
players
game.
really dislike. Yeah, it was
Yep.
when I was playing Zaya, and
Yep.
Kog'Maw took first and second in that lobby,
Yeah.
and
Kog'Maw 2, I think, won, right? It was like the
yeah,
double
yeah,
artifact for them
exactly,
too.
exactly. I was very demoralizing. So I
Yeah.
was feeling down for sure. I'm definitely not
Yeah.
immune to that. But I mean, it's all the boring cliches. I would just sit there, you just play your game, play your spot in the next game, right? And just
Yeah.
as long as you're not, like it's pretty easy to catch if you're actually making tilt like decisions out of tilt. And I think in
Yeah.
tournament on ladder it happens to me because I'm not as locked in that sense. But I think in tournaments I'm usually able to avoid if I'm making mistakes, it's for other reasons, not usually because of
Yeah.
tilt.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that mentality is super. important to have in settings like this when you're competing at the highest caliber. 'Cause you just have to go next, right? That's what I
Yeah,
used
for
to
sure, for
tell
sure.
students when I coached them if they like lost. I was like, all you can do is do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. I just had one more question. So just for context, I started TFT. I think I've been masters since set 11.
Mhm.
But I have a lot of people in my community that streams that are brand new players or maybe at Emerald. And one of the questions I often get,
Mhm.
how do you like better at the game, right? And so I'm always giving my tips, but I'm curious just for like highest level, what tips would you to players kind of asking those questions?
I actually made a whole Reddit post on this, on, like, trying to improve from, like, master level. Like, it got
Yep.
a lot of traction. I can send if you wanted the link to that, but basically my tips there are all around, like, improving at, uh, they kind of apply to most skills that you'd like to
Yep.
improve at, but a lot of it is mostly around, um, I guess what you could call it's not what you could call, but I think it's been phrased as deliberate practice, basically
Yep.
trying to figure out really thoroughly what patterns of things you make mistakes at and trying to
Hmm.
understand why, like deep dives into why you make mistakes and
Yep.
addressing it from that perspective. I think the easiest way to do this, it's not the cheapest way, but the easiest way is to get a better player to coach you at these
Yep.
things. Obviously, quality of coaches can differ a lot, but I think that's the easiest way. Um, but basically, trying to figure out like what are your misconceptions in the game, which there are going to be a lot for every player at
Yeah.
every level, and usually it's going to be like, oh, you don't like at newer levels it'll be things as simple as you don't understand the value of 3 items on a unit versus two,
Yep.
or you don't understand the value of econ early game, things like that. As you get better, it'll be like you don't maybe understand the value of maintaining like 20 gold or 10 gold of interest when you're rolling on 4-2. Like maybe you
Yep.
just send true zero because you know you're supposed to roll in 4-2, and understanding, when you have hits still, are you supposed to send or not? But like, and you only uncover these by watching or trying to understand your mistakes, as patterns. I think it's easy to fall into like, oh, here's like one bit of knowledge that'll help me. Like, oh, the best power up on X unit is whatever. Fusion Dance Darius is good. Sure. That's like useful, but I don't think that helps with true improvement, which is basically you understand your mistake patterns and then you find out how to correct them basically.
Yeah. No, 100%. That actually echoes. Somebody asked me in my stream earlier, kind of their thought process around, can I get better? Can I, things like that. And that's kind of what I highlighted. There's probably one or two things that you level when you stuck, like, are you
Mhm.
managing your econ correctly? Are you selecting the lines? All those kinds of things.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good to hear. Yeah, I get those questions kind of a lot. So I don't know if I
Yeah,
always
a lot
give
of people in
the
TFT
best
are very like
answer, but yeah, I was
improvement
like,
oriented. So it's cool to see yeah, a lot of inquiries about this sort of stuff. And I like yapping about this stuff.
yeah, no, 100%. I like watching your stream because I feel like you ask things kind of proactively. So it's always
No,
super fun.
appreciate that.
So awesome. Yeah, I think those are the questions that I had. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share. Yeah, otherwise,
Oh yeah, no,
that's it.
the only thing's the plugger. I stream every now and then on Marcel P,
Yep.
TFT. That's basically it. So yeah, I have a Twitter, I guess, Marcel P Clash. I tweet every now and then about the game. So yeah, besides that, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Marcel. And good luck tomorrow. We'll be watching. So, yeah,
Thanks, Connor. All
sounds
right,
good.
catch you later.